Good morning and welcome to episode 18 of the Willow Cove Crafts podcast, a podcast about knitting and sewing and my other crafty endeavors. My name is Emily and you can find me on both Ravelry and Instagram as Willow Cove Crafts. Today is Sunday, January 9th, I believe. And I am coming to you from just outside of Madison in Verona, Wisconsin. It has been about a week since I last recorded, which is pretty early for me. Those of you who have been around for a while may know that I tend to put on an episode every 2 to 3 weeks. But moving forward, I have made the decision to try and start putting out an episode weekly. We'll see how that goes. Filming an episode takes quite a bit of time. You have to record and then you have to edit, and then uploading to YouTube is a nightmare. If you've never done it, it literally takes hours for it to actually upload. But anyways, the reason I've made that decision is because, and I talked a bit about this in my last episode, but one of my goals for this year and hopefully forever is to become more of a monogamous knitter. I called it mostly monogamous, which I will explain a little bit here, but the last week I have really stuck to that, and I've only worked on one project and I have made a lot of progress on it. And if this continues, I'm always really surprised how much knitting I get done in a week. And I usually don't quite realize how much knitting I get done in a week because it's split up amongst 3 or 4 projects. But when all of my knitting time is focused on one thing, it is pretty amazing how much work gets done. So, I don't want to introduce a project to you and then not record for 2 weeks and then the next episode is done. I do want to actually show you things as they're in progress, kind of midway through the project. So that is the reason for weekly episodes. So I do think because I'm working on fewer projects, my episodes might be a little bit shorter moving forward. However, I'm going to try and put them out a little bit more frequently. So I hope you enjoy this new format. And yeah, I'm really excited to start putting out videos weekly. I really do enjoy recording. Since I recorded last, we have had a pretty lazy week. Dan and I did not do much over the last week. A couple of the highlights, we've been playing this game. I had seen ads for it a lot on Instagram for a while, and then my mom actually got us this for Christmas. So it's the To Hunt a Killer game. It's not really a game, but I think essentially how it works in real life is I think it's a subscription service, and they have they call them seasons, and every season has 6 installments. And so every month for 6 months, you get a new box, and it's got, clues for you. It's like a new piece of the puzzle. But you can also go on their website and buy the whole season, which is what my mom got us for Christmas. And so we've got 6 boxes that all contain a new installment to this mystery we're trying to solve. It's more akin to an escape room, if you've ever been to that. There's, things to read, puzzles to do, ciphers, to essentially catch a fictional killer. Dan and I both really like true crime and crime dramas, so We just started that this week and it's been really fun. You know, we've just been kind of reading through like these court documents and witness testimonies, and there's this like little paint by number that was a clue. And it's like very interactive, very well thought out. One of the documents references a memorial website for the victim, and it's a real website, and you can go and there's different like comments on a chat board in there that, you know, are probably a clue. So yeah, we're still working on the first box, and it's kind of an introduction to our case. And it's not even an introduction. It's not like you open it and it's like, this is the mystery you're trying to solve. It's like, you know, you just immediately start reading like letters and correspondence and, you know, the testimony, just to kind of get a sense of what happened. All of the eyewitness testimonies tell a slightly different story. It's a lot like real life. So we've been having a lot of fun with that. We've been trying to work on that like maybe 45 minutes to an hour every evening. Yeah, what else did we do this week? We had some friends over on Friday night for a little game night. We really like to play Hearts, which is a card game. So we had a couple people over to do that. What else? I have also been dealing with, so I've been wanting to get into houseplants a little bit. I historically have not been the best at keeping plants alive, so I asked for Christmas for some like beginner-friendly houseplants. My mom is a really, really exceptional gardener, so I asked her if she asked me what I wanted for Christmas, and I asked her if she could pick me out some houseplants that were hard to kill. Anyway, so I have all these new houseplants, and unfortunately, I think one or all of them have fungus gnats. And I guess sometimes, you know, you can get those just from the soil. You know, you buy the soil from the store and it happens to be infested. My infestation, I don't think is too terrible. I have been doing a lot of research online, and I've seen pictures of plants just like covered with these bugs. They're small little fly type bugs. They look a lot like fruit flies. They're really tiny, but they like kind of fly around, and then they lay their larvae in the soil, and then the larvae eat the roots of the plant so they can kill your plant. They're otherwise harmless. My first reaction was like, are these things gonna eat my yarn? Which is like priority number one in this household. But no, they're completely harmless. They might kill your plant, but they probably won't really hurt anything else. But I don't want them to kill my plants. I want to take care of them. So I've been trying to, you know, I'll squish them when I see them, but I also started today. I've been reading that hydrogen peroxide is pretty effective at killing them, especially if your infestation is minor, which I think mine is. I just see a few of these little bugs every day. But yeah, the hydrogen peroxide is harmless to the plants if you dilute it correctly, and will kill the larva on contact. So I'm hoping, you know, every couple days, if I water them with a hydrogen peroxide mixture over the next week or two, all of the larvae will be killed, and then the adults will die, and then I won't have bugs anymore. Otherwise, I might have to, there's a couple other strategies to take. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of research, but I might have to do some extra things, but this is my first line of defense. I'm especially concerned about, my mom got me seeds for a polka dot plant, I believe is what it's called. It's really cute. It's got these like pretty polka dotted leaves, but they're seedlings, and those are especially susceptible to the larvae because they go in and they eat the roots, and the seedlings are very fragile, and I really don't want anything to happen to them. I'm very like emotionally attached to these little seedlings because I grew them from the beginning. Anyways, I have been rambling quite a bit. So yeah, that has been my week. So let's start with what I am wearing today. And I had to go look up all of the stats about this sweater. This is my very first sweater I ever knit. And yes, that was like almost 10 years ago at this point, so I did not remember a lot of the details. But this is the Fireside sweater by Allison. I think that's right. I'm looking at my notes over here. And I knit it out of Plymouth yarn Encore Tweed, which is a mostly acrylic wool blend. I think it's like 75 to 77% like synthetic material, and then it's got a little bit of wool content for the rest of it. I do remember, because it was my first sweater ever, I wanted to get something that was pretty inexpensive. So I got an acrylic based yarn. And for those of you that are Christmas movie fans, this sweater pattern is modeled after one of the sweaters that Cameron Diaz wore in the movie The Holiday. And yeah, I just saw that movie for the first time this year, but when I was picking my first sweater, I just really liked the pattern. It is quite ambitious for a first sweater, but I think I've mentioned before, I was a very ambitious new knitter. Nothing fazed me, nothing scared me. So some of my very first knitting projects were pretty impressive as far as techniques are concerned. Yeah, I still, to this day, really love wearing this sweater. It brings back a lot of memories. I think in like my first or second episode, I told this story, but I decided to knit my very first sweater when I was a senior in college, and I tore my ACL and had to have knee surgery. And I decided that since I was going to be, you know, stuck on the couch for a couple weeks or a couple months, that I was gonna bite the bullet and try knitting a sweater, and this is the one I picked. So yeah, it brings back a lot of like really nostalgic memories for me. That was kind of a tough time. I was very active in college, so having this major injury was really upsetting to me. But, you know, despite that, I also found a lot of joy, because I think that experience is what like really made me a knitter with a capital K. I was kind of a casual knitter up until that point, and then, you know, I remember that summer, you know, I knit my first sweater, I knit my first shawl, I discovered Ravelry and podcasts, and like this whole world just became available to me. And I don't know if that would have happened if I hadn't gotten injured. So I'm, you know, in hindsight, kind of thankful for that experience. But anyways, I'm gonna put a little video in here. I might try and do some voiceover, or I might do music, I'm not quite sure. I hear from a lot of people that sometimes they don't know how to wear their knits or how to style their knits, and I, by my own admission, am not the most stylish person in the world, but I do a pretty good job of wearing my knits, so something is happening. But yeah, I am wearing this today just with a t-shirt. I really like to make sure I have some kind of neutral things in my knitted wardrobe. This is a nice oatmeal color, so it goes with pretty much anything. So today I am just wearing it with a green t-shirt and then some jeans. And it's a simple outfit, but it is nice and cozy, and I love getting to wear my hand knit sweaters. Like I mentioned a little earlier, I have only worked on one project this week. I introduced this project the last episode, but I am knitting the Foyka sweater by Linka Neumann. It is in her book, Wilderness Knits. I do not believe you can purchase this pattern individually on Ravelry. I'll have to double check that. I think if you could purchase it individually, I would have done that. So, you know, I decided to buy the book, so I'm assuming that it's only available in this book. And this book is kind of new. I think the pattern itself is a bit older, but Linka is a Norwegian designer, and a lot of her patterns, I think most of her patterns are released in Norwegian, and then she kind of slowly works on releasing them in other languages. So I believe this book came out in English just in the last year or so. But anyways, I was super excited to see it come out because I really love her sweater patterns. Anyways, I am using the yarn that is called for in the pattern. Let me pick it up over here. So this sweater is supposed to be like a really thick, warm sweater intended to be worn outside. So it calls for Alafosslopi by Istex, which is a pretty intense, bulky weight yarn. I've been doing a bit of research on Alafosslopi, and from what I have read, the Icelandic sheep have two different types of hair that they grow. One is like a longer staple length, and it does a really good job of, you know, keeping out water and wind. And then they've got a shorter staple length hair that, you know, is kind of more of an insulator. And then the Lopi yarns are spun with both of those two types of fibers together, which makes kind of the best of both worlds. You've got something that's really warm that also does a really good job of blocking out the elements, which makes it a really great yarn choice for outdoor garments or a garment that you want to be super duper warm. It's not the softest yarn in the world. However, you know, my goal with this sweater was to make something that I could wear instead of a coat on certain days. So I think it's gonna end up being a good choice. So anyways, the yarns I am using, or the colors I am using, I should say. This is the first one. This is my main color, and it is shade 9972. Just a nice, I would call this like a very light tan cream color. And my two contrast colors are this really light brown. This is color 0085. And then I've got this red, which is 9962. It's a really nice kind of blue tone red. Again, this is a bulky weight. And yes, I think, unfortunately, Istex is maybe having a bit of trouble with supply chain at the moment, along with everyone else in the world. I think that Alafosslopi, I've heard, is pretty hard to get. I forget where I purchased this from. I bought it kind of recently, and when I went on that website, they were really low on a lot of colors. A lot of websites were running pretty low on the Alafosslopi. So yeah, I don't know. I did recently purchase a pretty big batch of Letlopi, which is Istex's like DK weight. So I did not have any trouble finding the Letlopi, and pro tip, the Letlopi can be held double to make the same thickness as the Alafosslopi. So for example, I recently found a sweater pattern I really like. I'm completely blanking on the name and designer, but that sweater is also knit out of Alafosslopi. I couldn't really find Alafosslopi in the colors that I wanted, so I just bought some Letlopi instead, and I bought double the amount I need because I will hold the Letlopi double to make that Alafosslopi sweater. So anyways, that's a little lesson on Lopi for you. My yarn, I threw it down on this little like table thing I have, and one of them rolled off and nearly almost knocked my coffee over. That would have been tragic. Anyways, I'm losing some stitches here. But last episode, I had just finished one of the sleeves, and I was about maybe a third of the way done with the second sleeve. So this sweater is knit bottom up, and then at the armpits, you join your 3 pieces, your left sleeve, your right sleeve, and your body together, and then it's a circular yoke that is knit up to the neckline. So I started with the sleeves, and the reason for that is, you know, knitting the body of the sweater is very exciting for me, so I like to save it. And since last time I have finished the second sleeve, I cast on the body, knit the entire body, and then just last night I joined all 3 pieces together and have started knitting the yoke of the sweater, which I think is a massive amount of progress. So let me show you. It's very heavy. It's very squished up on the needles, so it's a bit hard to show, but here we go. So last time, let me find it. So this is my marker of where I was last time. So, you know, this is on the sleeve. So this was my second sleeve, and I finished knitting up the entirety of the second sleeve. And then I cast on the body and knit all the way up. And then, like I said, just last night, these are kind of hanging on by a thread, but I just attached my sleeves to the body. And now the rest of the sweater has more of the like 3 color work that you see here. And it is going massively quickly. It helps that it's a bulky weight yarn. Obviously that speeds up the process quite a bit, but also monogamous knitting. It's amazing how much progress you can make in a week. So anyways, the fit seems like it's going well. Right now, the torso of the sweater, I've kind of like tried the pieces on to make sure they like fit circumference wise. The torso of the sweater is looking a little short to me. I'm pretty tall, I'm 5'9", so I tend to lengthen things. So Linka provides measurements for like a man and woman size sweater. The chest circumferences are the same, but she has the recommended lengths. So I am following the instructions for the men's sweater. Just because I am a bit taller, I might as well make the longest sweater. It still looks a little short to me. The armpit of the sweater actually, you know, looking at the picture, kind of sits a little bit lower. The yoke depth is quite long. So I'm hoping that that's kind of why the torso looks short, is that, you know, the armpit of the sweater is not going to be all the way up here. It's going to sit a little bit lower. I'm going to knit a little bit more on it and then maybe try it on. Again, I just connected the sleeves, so it's a little fragile at this point, but maybe I'll do quite a bit of knitting on this afternoon, and then I'll be able to try it on and feel a little bit better about the length that I made it. But anyways, super fun, super quick project, and I think it looks really cool. I love the color work on this sweater. Let me see if I can get you a bit of a close-up. It looks really nice. I'm also really proud of the color work I've been doing. You know, this is pre-blocking and I think it looks really nice. And I can only imagine it will smooth out even more when I block it. The other thing I have been doing that I have never really done before is, in the past when I have done color work, I have always twisted my yarn every 3 stitches. I had always read that you don't want your floats to be too long because then your fingers can kind of get caught in them, and then tug on your stitches. And so I had previously read the recommendation that you should twist your yarn every 3 stitches if your float is longer than 3 stitches. Floats, for those of you that are unfamiliar, are the, you know, when you work color work, you carry the yarn you're not using along the back. But recently I have been reading one of Elizabeth Zimmerman's books. I believe it's called Knitting Without Tears. And she recommends and says that you can actually carry your floats up to 5 stitches. And she said the reason for that is, you know, you do have kind of a long float, but the float over time is going to kind of stick to and felt a little bit to the body of the sweater. And so even though you've got maybe a longer float like I do down here that I can, you know, definitely stick my finger up into, over time these are going to kind of mat down and stick to the background of the sweater. And so she has assured us all in her book that 5 stitches is, you know, a better or an acceptable length of stitches to carry your floats. So I've been trying that. This sweater pattern doesn't have any floats that are longer than 5 stitches, so that means I get to just not twist anything, which is really nice. I kind of find twisting the stitches in color work to be a little annoying. I would prefer to just like be able to knit around without having to worry about, you know, yarn management. But yes. My stomach is growling. I don't know if you can hear that. It's time to eat. What else to say about this? I've also been doing 3 color work. So like these diamonds right here, you can kind of see like these rows up here have all 3 colors in them, you know, from here to here. That has not been too bad. What I do is kind of the same rules apply. So if you are unfamiliar with color work, you should always have a dominant color that you kind of carry underneath your less dominant color. With 3 colors, what I kind of do is the same idea. I just have a top, middle, and bottom color. And I make sure as I'm like carrying my floats that I am maintaining the order of those colors. So for me, for example, the red is what I wanted to be most dominant. So I carry that on the bottom of the other 2 strands, and then the brown is in the middle, and then the cream is on the top as my least dominant color. And yeah, you just have to kind of be mindful of how you're carrying your yarns, make sure you're not twisting them and that you're maintaining that order. And 3 color work knitting is essentially the same as 2 color. Yeah. You know, this might be finished. I don't know if it will be finished next week. I'll explain that in a minute, but hopefully within the next 2 weeks for sure, this will be done. And I will have a nice warm sweater to wear the rest of winter, because we here in Wisconsin definitely have many months of cold ahead of us. Looking ahead to the next week, I did want to just share a little bit of what I am planning to work on until I record again next weekend. Obviously, like I said, I want to be mostly monogamous. So my plan is to work on my Foyka sweater as much as possible. And then what I mean by mostly monogamous is that now that I am on the color work of that sweater, it is not the best It's not the best travel knitting. It's super bulky. It's hard to handle. The color work requires a lot of concentration. I do sometimes knit at work. I have a lot of meetings I have to attend where I'm, just kind of a passive participant. It's more of a presentation style meeting, so I will knit on those meetings. And obviously I try to pick something that is really basic and doesn't require a lot of concentration because I am supposed to be concentrating on the meeting topic. But anyways, color work is not a great choice for that situation because it requires a lot of focus. So essentially, while the Foyka is my main project this coming week, it's not suitable for all of the situations I find myself in where I would be knitting. So I have been thinking about another, more simple project that I could pick up that I could knit in those times when the Foyka is really not an option. So I have decided to pull back into rotation I don't want to lose any stitches, but my Illuminate sweater. Illuminate looks really complicated. This is actually the back, and it has this like beautiful color work yoke. But now that I'm towards the bottom of the body, it is just plain knitting. So I'm not going to talk to you in depth about this project this episode because I haven't actually worked on it this week, but looking ahead, I think this is going to be my new kind of mindless knitting projects to work on, as is appropriate. So again, the Foyka is my main squeeze. That's what I'm going to work on as much as possible. And then the Illuminate I will work on when I'm unable to work on Foyka. And yeah, I think that about covers what I will be able to get done within the next week. I have been thinking a lot about like future knitting plans, like what I'm going to be working on over the next couple months. But yeah, I think I'll share more about that as things come up. But yes, 2 sweaters on the go this week for me. All right, and I think that is it for me this week. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with me. If you liked this video, please like it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment. It really does make my day when I hear from you all. Yeah, I think the rest of the day I have some cleaning I have to do, some organizing, and then I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna knit. And yeah, have a pretty relaxed day at home to finish out the weekend. Tomorrow's Monday, which means I have to go to work. Anyways, I will hopefully talk to you again next weekend and have a great week. I hope you get lots of crafty time in until we chat again. Bye, everyone.